This video, I want to introduce you to the index, as well as several logical operators and mathematical operators in order to help us manipulate the values in vectors, but this will also be the groundwork for all sorts of really exciting things that we'll be doing relatively soon. So first, I've sort of mentioned this idea of the index before, so I want to introduce it more formally. So here I'm just going to repeat values 1 to 100, and each number is going to be repeated 3 times. Or each series is going to be repeated 3 times. So 1 to 100, and then 1 to 100, and then 1 to 100 again. So like I mentioned before, this number over here on the left allows us to know what position a given value has within the vector. So number 1 here is in the first position, number 15 is in the 15th position, and so on. Down here, this third 95 is in the 295th position. So this number in the brackets here is keeping track of a given number's index. So again, the index is the position in which a value finds itself within a vector. So that's really helpful because we can sort of access that information by calling up that particular number. So here I'm saving this value, or this vector, in this variable called x, and then we printed it. But let's say that I wanted to access the 23rd index. So I just write x, write bracket, and then the number 23, and then I can run that line, and it gives me back the 23rd number. So in this case, it's pretty trivial because 23, the first 23 is going to be the 23rd index. But let's say I wanted to return the 271st index. So we would write x 271 and go ahead and print that. And we see that the number occurring in that position is 71. So we can do all sorts of things with this. So we could do x 271 to 280, and it's going to tell us all of these values here. So that's really helpful. Now, we also want to introduce this idea of a logical operator. And so while we see that a single equal sign up here is assigning this value or all these values, this vector on the right, to this variable x, the double equal sign allows us to check whether a value on the left of the double equal sign is equivalent to some value on the right. So in this case, right, let's say that we want some value and it's going to be 5. And let's say we didn't, know what that value happened to be. We could say, is value the same as 5? And as a response, it's going to say true down here because the value contained in this variable is logically equivalent to 5. But if I change this to 6 and run it again, we see that's false because the value itself is 5. And since we're checking this against the number 6, they are not the same, so therefore it should return false. Now, this is really important. It seems trivial in this sense, but it allows us to do all sorts of different things where we can check particular values from a large vector, but it also allows us to sort of select particular features of a vector, and then we can change those values. And so say, for example, we wanted to look at every number in a given vector that is the number 7. What we could do with that is select all of those number 7s and then change them to a new value if we wanted. And in a later video, we're going to show you how we can use this logical operator and the index to essentially change the column name of an imported data set. For now, though, I just want to introduce a couple of other relatively trivial mathematical operators just to round out this discussion. So far you've seen me do the classic 2 plus 2, where this addition sign is just the classic cross. So that is still the same in R. The same goes for the little dash, which is standing for subtraction. We see that 2 minus 2 is in fact 0, so that's just fine. Now, multiplication in R is using the asterisk, which is pretty common across all languages. So that's typically Shift 8. We go ahead, hit enter, we see that that's 4. That works great. And division in R is the backslash. So 2 divided by 2 should be 1, and that is in fact the case. Finally, the last mathematical operator I want to talk about right now is exponentials. So 2 raised to the power of 2 should be 4. And so to do that, we have this little caret here, which is typically Shift 6. And we see that that is in fact the case. So in this video, we introduced mathematical operators, the idea of the logical operator, as well as introducing the idea of the index.